Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
After so many episodes on coronavirus, so much so that for a while we called it cut the corona clutter. After so many and after the last 5 or 6, I never imagined I will be doing another episode of Cut the Clutter on coronavirus talking about bad news. Because if you see the last 5 or 6, these have all been about good news. New vaccines, another new vaccine, vaccines becoming more effective, vaccine delivery increasing, more and more people getting vaccinated, also fatality rates coming down, also positivity coming down, fewer cases. In fact, the cases had gone almost, we had to an extent that we thought that India will go below 1 lakh active cases. But now things have reversed. I will give you some big figures to explain why I'm saying things have reversed, unfortunately, but also the three main culprits. I know culprits is a rude thing to say, but Maharashtra, Kerala, and Punjab, in their own different ways, have contributed to this return of this scourge called coronavirus and the new fatalities, new deaths. So, first of all, before we talk about Maharashtra in some greater detail, because that is the epicenter now, and that is where a lot of India's coronavirus problem is now located. More than half of all of India's cases, in fact, 2/3 of all of India's new cases every day lately have been coming from one state of Maharashtra, which in terms of population is just about 8% of India's population, 7 to 8% of India's population. So you can imagine if 7 to 8% of India's population is today getting about 60 to 70% of India's new cases, what does it mean? So we'll talk about Maharashtra in detail. Until the other day, until about 2 weeks back, Kerala was also in that category, and we'll talk about that as well. Punjab is in a different category altogether because Punjab has the numbers going up, but Punjab also has the deaths going up at a rate which is 2.5 times higher than the national average, which is not nice. Now, look at the national figures, because for us to blow the whistle or to raise an alarm, we need data. We can't work without data. We can't just editorialize. In any case, on Cut the Clutter is about data and facts, not about opinion. So if you look at the data, the March 8 to 15 week that ended yesterday, the March to 8 to 15 week saw 33% increase in India's active coronavirus cases. This is the highest weekly increase in percentage terms since July. Since last July, we thought we had come a long distance from the July. July the graph was going up. It kept on going up in September. Doomsday scenarios were being painted. From September, it began to decline. And now it has turned again. So after last July, it is the first week in which the numbers of active cases have gone up by 33%. Bad news. If this is bad news, then deaths. Deaths last week, in the same week, March 8 to 15, went up by 28%. That is the highest increase in deaths after the previous 6 weeks, after a consistent decline. So once again, that graph has been bent in the wrong direction. Bent in the wrong direction. These graphs should be bent like this. These graphs are now being bent like this, which is not nice. Today, if you see the total numbers, total numbers are 26,300 today. That is the highest in 85 days. So that is the state of the nation as far as coronavirus is concerned, and that looks very worrying, as we can imagine. Now, the three states that I told you about, which are the big problematic states for different reasons. Let me just give you some basic figures from the three states. If you look at Kerala numbers were going up. In fact, there was a time when Kerala and Maharashtra accounted for more than 75% of India's cases, while they have just about 10% of India's population. Kerala, over the last month, has again bent the curve in the right direction. So in last month, Kerala has gone from about 65,000 active cases to about 36,000 active cases. So Kerala has nearly halved its active cases in the last 1 month. on the other hand, look at what's happened with Maharashtra. What's happened with Maharashtra is that, say, in the last 1 month, from Feb 11 to March 11, that is the month that we are calculating here when we have authentic figures. Feb 11 to March 11, Maharashtra's numbers have gone up from 37,000 to a little over a lakh. So Maharashtra has grown 3 times in a month. Kerala, which was very high and was rising and was a cause of concern, in spite of the election campaign, has bent it with better discipline, more testing, etc. And we'll give you that data as well. But Maharashtra, on the other hand, seems to have gone out of control. In a month, Maharashtra has nearly tripled its active case load. Doesn't look right at all. Maharashtra's active cases now are 1 lakh plus after a very long time. If you look at Punjab, at the same time, it's a small state, but Punjab also, the cases have gone up in the same month, Feb 11 to March 11, by 400%, by 4 times, from about 2,100 to 9,400. So in fact, almost 4.5 times. This doesn't look pretty at all for these 3 states. But problems are not confined to this, and I will tell you some of these problems in more detail. If you look at Punjab, Kerala and Maharashtra, I will give you comparative figures, and then we'll talk about Maharashtra a little bit more. If you look at Punjab, Kerala and Maharashtra, then the big difference between the 3 states is in what is called as the key metric, which is case fatality rate. That if 100 people are diagnosed to be coronavirus positive, how many die? So you know that the national average right now is very creditable. It's 1.39%. It's very good by any international standard. We also know that as time has passed, globally, fatality or deaths from coronavirus have come down because doctors have learned better how to manage this disease, because higher fatalities in Italy, Spain, Britain, etc. took place at a time when people did not understand the disease. So there was a lot of tukka, trial and error was going on. Now that doesn't happen. So generally fatalities have come down. So India's fatalities are 1.39%, quite low. Punjab, on the other hand, Punjab is supposed to be a very healthy, robust state. But Punjab has the highest case fatality rate in India, in all of India, at 3.15%. So 1.39 compared to 3.15, it is about 2.5 times of the national average. It is not nice at all. It is just very difficult to explain why is Punjab doing so badly? Why are so many more Punjabis compared to people in other parts of the country dying? Now there are many reasons given, and you will see some stories by my colleagues Avantika Ghosh and Chitleen Sethi on this. But Punjab has some issues. There are lots of comorbidities. There is carelessness. People are coming to hospitals of a treatment too late. People think, dekhi jayegi, theek ho jayega. Usual approach. I'm indestructible. But something has gone wrong there, and that's a matter of concern. Kerala is the other extreme. Now, Kerala has a high number of cases in India. So its number of cases is higher than the national average. But Kerala's case fatality rate is just 0.4%. So Kerala's case fatality rate, if anything, is much less than 1/3 of the national average. So that means if 1,000 people fall sick, say in Kerala and Punjab, so in 1,000 in Punjab, 35 will die. In Kerala, 4 will die. That is the difference between the 2 states. And in all of India, if there were 1,000 people, then maybe 14 will unfortunately die. 4, 14 and 32. That is the difference. When you take the base of 1,000, then the picture becomes clearer. If you look at Maharashtra, among India's larger states, Maharashtra has the highest case fatality ratio, which is 2.35%, which means if 1,000 fell sick with coronavirus in Maharashtra, then 23 to 24 will die. This is 6 times of Kerala. This is about twice as much, a little less than twice as much as the rest of India. So this is one parameter on which Maharashtra is doing badly, Punjab is doing the worst, Kerala is doing the best. That may be because Kerala's primary health system is good. That's maybe because awareness is good, and that may be because one more data point that I will give you, Kerala is testing a lot more. So it's catching people early. It's quarantining them. It's beginning to take care of them so that people's cases do not get complicated. Now, there are two other matrices that we look at. One is test per million, and that's a very key matrix. That means out of a million population, 10 lakh population, how many people are tested for coronavirus? If you look at all of India, it's quite healthy. Out of every 10 lakh people at this point, about 1,65,000 have been tested. On an average, it's possible that many people have been tested more than once. I've been tested, I think, thrice. But as a ballpark figure, 1,65,000 per million have been tested when you look at all of India. If you look at Kerala, this number is more than twice the national average. Kerala, 3.6 lakh per million people have been tested. That means the average is more than 1 in 3. And that might be also the cause why Kerala's fatality rate is lower, and the numbers are higher because the more you test, more cases you will find. The less you test, the less cases you will find. That has another implication I will tell you. Now, Punjab can't be accused of testing less. Punjab's testing is 1.8 lakh per million. So it is still a little bit higher than the national average. The third metric is cases per million, because so many cases have taken place now that now we can look at data on a much wider scale. If you look at cases per million, Kerala has the highest. Kerala has 31,100. But for 31,100, Kerala will have fewer deaths than Punjab will have for a case per million average of 6,600. So Punjab's case per million is about 1/4 of Kerala, but Punjab's fatality rate is almost 9 times of Kerala. So that is how you make these comparisons. Maharashtra, on the other hand, is also high per million, 18,800 per million. If you look at India's average is actually about 8,400 per million. Now, where is the problem in Maharashtra? So the first problem you see in Maharashtra is testing too little. Maharashtra is not testing lower than the national average, I just told you. It's also testing lower than many other major states. It's testing less than Gujarat. It's testing less than, believe it or not, even Bihar. It's testing at about the same level as Uttar Pradesh, which is inexplicable. And Maharashtra has done so since the very beginning. There is something about that government that tells you that they are averse to testing at a higher level. Even when they've been testing a few more, they've been using a lot of those rapid antigen tests, which are inconclusive. So you get the sense that either the government is casual, or the government is incompetent, or the government in its own theorizing has figured that the best way is to let the virus run through the population. Some people will die, most will survive, and ultimately we will get herd immunity. But whatever it is, it's not looking good, because again that state, given how much of a prevalence it has, it should be vaccinating at a much higher pace than it's doing. If today Maharashtra has 56% all of India's active cases, Maharashtra has 8 out of the 10 worst affected COVID districts in all of India. In that situation, Maharashtra, why should it have only 7 to 8%, about 8% of India's total vaccinations? It should be vaccinating at a much higher pace. And I see some tweets also from Shiv Sena people, particularly Priyanka Chaturvedi, Shiv Sena Rajya Sabha member, who's asked for a more freer access to vaccinations, and she's asked for a relaxation of this controls from Delhi, so state government can vaccinate more people. If that is the intention, it's a good intention that should be supported, because Maharashtra is a vital state. It has not just one metropolis, but Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur. These are the Aurangabad. These are the engines of India's industry and economy. This needs more attention. So this chronic under testing also Maharashtra has to cover, and if they are able to do that, then chances are that they will make improvements. So there is a story by Abantika and Mansi today that I'm sharing with you. Please read that. There are some quotes there from Dr. V.K. Paul, who's a member of Niti Aayog, a noted doctor and scientist, who said that what's happening in Maharashtra is a very serious matter. We are very concerned about it. That lockdown is now back in 3 Maharashtra cities. This is very bad if India is going back to that situation. That should not happen. He also tells us that don't blame it on a new variant, because India by now has 7,000 variants of coronavirus, he says, because it is in the nature of viruses like these to mutate all the time. That's what Dr. Paul says. So there are 7,000 of them. There is a distinct virus or variant that we see in Maharashtra. It's called E484Q. It is found in Vidarbha. It is also seen to be as infectious, say, as the UK virus. But right now, he says you cannot attribute the increase in Maharashtra only to the new variant. Although, remember, Amravati district in Maharashtra, in Vidarbha, is the worst hit in terms of test positivity rates. At some point over the last week, I've seen them go above 15%. The WHO norm now is that if your test positivity rate is above 5%, you're testing too little. All over India, test positivity rate is less than 1%. In Delhi, test positivity rate, although it's gone up, is 0.6%. In Maharashtra, it's about 10% or above. In Amravati, it's been at 15%. So this tells you how seriously bad the situation in Maharashtra is. Now, if you ask expert after expert or after expert, and you don't have to ask experts, you have to just go out and check. If you saw or if you've been seeing these T20 matches between India and England, you will find stadiums are full. People are enjoying themselves. They're shouting and screaming in each other's faces. Of course, nobody is wearing masks. Even most of those who have masks hanging here. So that means people have now declared that the virus is gone and they've defeated the virus. That is just what this virus is waiting for. And this virus has begun to punish us back. Because remember, in warfare, there is something called the human wave tactics. So this is the viral wave tactics. You take care of one wave and you start relaxing, and the next wave will come, and every country in the world has had that experience. India is now facing a new wave. Now we have a couple of problems. One problem is that Maharashtra, particularly a big visible state, has taken its eye off the ball, and somebody needs to give them a hard knock in the head and get them to focus, because this is what they need to worry about and focus on. That is one. The second thing that's happened is that government of India, for heaven's sake, free up the vaccination process from this license quota Raj. Only this age, only this morbidity, only this page, only this place, this private hospital, I'll only give 300 shots in a day, 500 shots in a day. Arey, when you are not short of vaccines, why are you rationing it? But I'll tell you what, in government of India, once you give somebody power to strangle the other person, he will always use that power to strangle the other person. Because this government of India traditionally has got used to an idea that people should come and beg me for something, even if it's something that's theirs by right. That's why India's vaccination drive is going so slowly. Now you will see a lot of propaganda and data saying that India has vaccinated the second largest number of people in the world. Fantastic, you can say that. And that number is correct. For example, India has now administered about 3 crore shots. UK has administered 2.6 crore shots. US is the number one in the world, about 11 crore shots. But remember, 11 crore in UK, in the US, is 1/3 of US's population. Now I know some of these have got 2 shots, but 1/3 of US's population. 2.6 crores in UK is half of UK's population. 3 crores in India is 1.5% of India's population. So we are lagging very far behind, and today when the US is administering 5 million new jabs on any working day, India is averaging Over the last week, we averaged 1.2 million. But since we started 60 days back, we've averaged 500,000. At this rate, it will take forever. And at this rate, not just this wave, but more waves will come. And we'll be caught in this endless vicious cycle of locking down, facing these waves, vaccinating some people. So now that the vaccine is available, we have to attack the problem, assault the problem on a much wider scale than we are doing right now. And I'm surprised because Modi government is known for its scale. Why this is not being done on scale is difficult to understand, but sometimes we can be complacent. We think not enough people are dying around us. Now that's a very bad presumption. The third problem is people have got tired. People have got fatigued. They're taking masks off. They are partying. They are holding weddings. They are going in to watch cricket matches and shouting each other's faces without masks. They are not washing their hands, and this is why this is coming back. So I will conclude this from something that we remember from our childhood and school, and I think any of you who studied some Hindi in your school in class 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, you would have had a chapter on Kabir ji's dohas. So Kabir ji, Bhakt Kabir once said, "Dukh mein simran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koe, jo sukh mein simran kare to dukh kahe ko hoye," which means everybody prays when you are passing through bad times. Nobody remembers God when you have good times. But if only you remember God and you're God fearing in good times, and bad times will not come. That applies precisely to this pandemic and the virus. Because when the wave subsides, that is when we have to be careful with our precautions. But if the wave subsides and we also throw our masks away and we throw our caution to the winds, then the wave will come back, and then we will start scurrying about for medication, vaccine, masks, prayers, everything. So the best thing is to not let your guard down when things look more relaxed.